Let's get into the Cairo Corner. What you put up for us?
We have a condition that we're talking about known as costochondritis.
Yep.
Often mistaken with heart attack sometimes because of that pain in the chest.
Yeah.
Tell us what the word costochondritis means.
So it's just inflammation of the cartilage, and it's basically where those bones come in and attach to the sternum. You have cartilage in between there. Sometimes they get too inflamed. It could be done by, repetitive forces, coughing, laughing very hard for a long period of time. Really comes about when you get like chronic illnesses that cause a heavy cough for a while.
For sure.
Man, it could be, you could just get smacked in the chest.
Like a respiratory
tract infection, stuff of that nature. Those get really inflamed, and it's a bad chest pain. And sometimes you'll feel it go straight through to the back. And sometimes it'll radiate around where those ribs are, but it's a majority of the time it's right within those ribs.
Yeah.
What's it feel like?
So the picture that we found off Google, made by Very Well, not sure who that is, but very nice picture. Pain over the front of the upper chest, pain that worsens with a deep breath, pain that worsens with activity or touch, additional pain in the shoulder or arm. So I could see why I could simulate a heart attack because of that shoulder pain.
Yeah. But why with movement? Or why with breathing? Explain.
It's because the expansion of the chest. Anytime you inhale, when you're inhaling, you're decreasing the space of the chest. When you're exhaling, you're expanding out.
Yeah.
So you're expanding that chest and those cartilage and the muscles and the bones. We're just expanding our chest.
Yeah.
Therefore, we're going to feel stretching of the cartilage and all
in that area,
and we're going to feel pain.
So what else you got on here?
How can someone end up with it?
Yeah. So we went through that a little bit right now. Well,
I think you hit all those points.
I think what we didn't hit was just the physical strain. Yeah. When a lot of people, and I see this in the gym a lot, especially when they're doing chest, like they have the bar completely bounce off the chest instead of a nice steady down and explode up. Yeah. And I just see it like bouncing off the chest like a basketball. It looks like costochondritis about to start, like especially if they do that repetitively. So that's one way that I always see. And then we talked about the respiratory tract infections regularly, severe coughing, stuff of that nature. What are some treatments?
There's a couple. Typically people do medications to ease up the pain. Sometimes people use ice. On the internet, it says heat. I'm not a fan of heating something that's inflammatory.
Explain why.
Because inflammatory is already something that's heated up. So putting more heat to something that is already heated, no good. Chiropractic care, physical therapy. Chiropractic care, we'd handle with like modalities such as cold laser therapy, IFC, also like a TENS unit or something like that to manage the pain. The cousin of costochondritis, do you remember that? TT syndrome.
TT syndrome.
TT syndrome is basically the same thing. Yeah. Well, it's like the first four, I believe.
Okay. Yeah. First four ribs.
And like in school, I remember they used to always attach those together.
Okay. The other thing is, let's get into ice and heat real quick. So with the ice and heat, why I don't like heat, especially for acute injuries. When you get injured, your body is an amazing thing that tries to self-heal. So what does it do to that area that's now injured? It throws inflammatory response there. That's your first line of defense. Histamine, water, oxygen, blood, everything starts rushing to that area to help support and help create this healing process. So if you go ahead and you heat that up, you're promoting inflammation even more with the heat. You want to ice it down just so the inflammation doesn't run rampant. So if you have a costochondritis, which is just inflammation of the cartilage in between the ribs, then why would you heat it up more and inflame it more? You would want to ice it down is the biggest thing there. So yeah, there's a lot of other treatments like you said, and we have helped with this, but a lot of times, man, it's just time. It's really time. And then the biggest question that I always ask is why? Like if you had a major upper respiratory infection and this happened, okay, give it time, it'll go down. But if this just happened from repetitive stress, sometimes you could have an anterior rib head sort of dislodged, right? And where it's not sitting in that hole correctly or in that groove correctly to keep that bone where it's supposed to be. So that's where with every breath, it's like that rib is just grinding right up against where that groove should be. And so it's just like sometimes chiropractically, we have to sort of just make sure those ribs are placed correctly. I hate getting super aggressive with it just because they completely expand.
It's so simple, but it's so complex. Yeah, intercostal muscles. Yeah, and you got all those, and you got floating ribs to deal with, and all that. Exactly.
So that's tough. That's why with the adjustments, like we usually just do activator stuff with that. Like I don't do anything heavily with it by any means. So it's good treatment. We've had a lot of success with it, and a lot of times it's time. Time will help get rid of it and know what to do at home.